if Netflix ever decides to come back and actually like do the Magic the Gathering series or whatever, it's like they have a lot to work with. It's just where is the best place to begin that you could do. And when they first announced it was like War of the Spark was coming out, and it was like it was the end. It was always so funny that came out around the same time as like Infinity War, Endgame, and stuff, because it was just like the similarities between the two was very funny.
Because I think it was supposed to pick up right after the War of the Spark events, and it was going to focus on Chandra. I think was the original idea of the series, right?
Did we
At
ever?
least
that's what people always speculated what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But considering that the voice actor that was kind of talking about it was originally going to voice Gideon, and Gideon died in War of the Spark. So I'm like, I don't know
what they were going to do then.
Yeah, I don't know. People, I always thought that would be kind of cool if like they did like kind of like a Lilith like regrets like her, not her actions during War of the Spark or whatever, and felt guilty about basically causing the death of Gideon, and then it was like, just trying to get over him type thing. Would have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
Considering that a lot of the plot points from War of the Spark have been dropped since then, which really stinks.
I think ultimately for the series, they think they came down to the point where it's like not too many people are going to understand what's going on or what the War of the Spark was. So I think they were trying to debate on like what's the best point to start people off on.
I think it was that, and it was also just like how to introduce Magic as a whole, because what this kind of tells me is that they didn't. Again, this is always kind of like the thing when you get into movies or shows like this. It's like, who do you appeal more to? Do you appeal more to the hardcore fans of the thing, or do you more do a wide approach to it, where it's like to include people that don't really know anything about Magic? Maybe. And it's like, I think it's trying to find that middle ground. So it's like, I think you're not wrong, because it was like at the time when they announced this, War of the Spark was the big thing, and now and then it's been 5 years since then, and it's like Magic story is far different from what it used to be.
I don't even know what's going on in War right now,
dude. I don't either. I dropped off so hard after the fucking Phyrexian shit. That was so disappointing.
Now I know now they did like a Wild West thing for a while, and now it's about small creatures or whatever.
Yeah, it seems like they just kind of do like weird gimmicks rather than continuing a story as a whole. Which is, I mean, it's fine to do that on occasion, but it's like, but you still but like the thing is, especially like leading up into the War of the Spark and other big sets or whatever that had like big story like beats or whatever, they kept an overarching theme across it, and now it just seems like they're just kind of doing whatever, which stinks.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I haven't kept up with it since I don't even remember what it was called. Like the last time the Phyrexians were a thing.
I should probably think about doing an intro, right? 4 minutes in.
Probably. March of the Machine. That's what it was. I had to remind myself it was the Phyrexia LV1 led into the March of the Machines.
That was a good set.
It was a good set. It's a lot of good shit that came after that. Anyway, hello and welcome to another episode of It Never Ends. I'm Andrew. Over there is my good buddy Alex. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Fresh off a round of disc golf, talking Magic, de-gathering. There's more impressive stuff. The PS5 Pro was showed off a couple days ago, and it's $700 for reasons I couldn't really fathom, to be honest with you.
I don't know either. I'm not sure what the hell they were.
Without a disc drive, too.
So if you want the complete PS5 Pro experience, it's going to cost $810. That's just in the US. The PS5 Pro by itself, without the disc drive, in places like the UK, is up to like $900.
Look, I get that we've known for, I think, at least the past 2 generations that whenever Sony and Microsoft make a new console, that they oftentimes take hits on the cost to bring down, the actual price of the thing, because the idea is they make it back through their subscriptions, through their games that they make and everything like that. And now Sony just says, fuck it, we don't care. It's really what it feels like.
I think they're getting into their... I think we speculated this last week. They're kind of getting into their PS3 era mindset.
They really are.
We're on top. Who cares? We'll just do whatever we want.
It is so funny to me that last week we said that, and then this week it came true.
Yeah.
I thought that is so funny.
But now, to the few people that are defending this shit, being like, well, it's a luxury item. Okay, it's a luxury item to do what? You're like barely increasing the resolution, and what, maybe a handful of PS4 games are getting a FPS boost? That's nothing. I'm sorry, I
when you're barely utilizing the PS5 as it is right now with the games that you have, what's the point of getting an upgrade? Basically, the games that are pushing the PS5 to its limit are the Square Enix games, like with Rebirth and 16. It's like those games showed what PS5 games should look like when it comes to first-party Sony games, but we get Astrobot, which is fine. It is like I hear it's really good, but it's like it's fine.
Well, no, Astrobot is absolutely phenomenal.
Yes,
it's
but
not like a technical showcase for a $700.
That's more of what I was getting at.
Come on, yeah. No,
so
I totally get that. I was gonna say it's incredibly funny that they're touting like how powerful this thing is and like how it's gonna improve graphics so much, and their last game was Astrobot.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, I think I saw a post talking about how a lot of realistic looking games, we're still going to get quite a few of those. I think the future of the industry ultimately is going to be with games like, what was that one that Microsoft put out? That's whatever. Games. It's the band one. Hi-Fi Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush, yeah.
Games like Hi-Fi Rush, games like Animal Well, games like Astrobot. I think we're going to start leaning more into more stylized games anyway. I don't know. I have some speculation as to what the next gen of consoles is going to look like, but in either case, I don't get it. I really don't get it. This spec-wise, it is not that much of an upgrade, and they are charging a huge premium for it.
It's so interesting that, this kind of happened or whatever, and it's like I literally was listening at work to the latest Play Watch Listen where they talked about, is gaming getting too expensive, or are games being too expensive to make, basically. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and then for the PS5 Pro to be announced like the same day that episode comes out. And it's like, and I remember them talking about specifically, it's like that when it comes to these big AAA games, it's like they want to just make it so big and so grand or whatever that it's just like, it gets too over. I'm not saying this right, but it's like if it gets too grand, basically, you have to bring in too many people, and then it will end up costing too much because what you're trying to do is you're trying to fit so much into
the scale is too big.
Yeah, the scale is too big, and what happens when the scale is too big is that you have to bring in more people to, make it so that it's not like a 10-year process, and by the time the game comes out, we're already on the PS6 type thing, and then you go, well, this is a technical nightmare now, or anything like that, or I don't know. It's like you want to build games that are big, but you don't want them to take forever. And if they are so big, then you have to bring in people. And if you don't bring in people, then it takes way too long. And it's a never-ending cycle. So what it ultimately comes down to, and I absolutely agree with what they said in that podcast is that eventually gaming is going to figure out that you don't need to make games as big as humanly possible. At some point, it will happen with AAA games. And there's a reason why indie games continues to succeed, whereas AAA seems to be floundering at times. Not saying there aren't good AAA games. It's just it feels like in recent years, a lot more of them come out very meh.
because they have these bloated development costs, and the issue with having a game that big and that expensive is that when you're investing that much into it, you want to appeal to as broad of an audience as possible, so you're less encouraged to try new things because of it. Because you'll think like, oh, this is really cool, and a lot of people might really like that, but according to like data analysts and stuff, they're going to be saying that's not what people are into, and we can't guarantee return if we do all this new bizarre stuff. So we would rather go with a more true and tested formula that we know more and more people are going to be into, with a franchise that we know we will make a return on.
It's crazy to think that basically games can be as cheap or as expensive as companies want them to be. Basically, it's like you can make a really good game at a very reasonable cost. I feel like. I mean, why do you think indie developers still exist and everything like that? It's like they're not working on millions and millions of dollar budgets. No, oftentimes they're working on maybe less than $1 million sometimes.
Most of the
Probably
time,
a lot of times. So it's just like.
No, most indie devs operate at a loss, especially unproven developers.
Oh, absolutely.
They are 100% relying on whatever they make from the sales of the game itself.
Yep. And oftentimes they don't have the ability to do marketing, so it's just like they have to, they put out the demo that they hope to get shown off at, like some streamer finds it or whatever. They reach out to streamers. Basically, it's like, hey, here's a free copy of the game. You should go play it. And stuff like that. And so I was just like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's crazy because it's like in essence, gaming is like games can, like I said, games can be as big as expensive as they want to be, or as cheap as you can make them, which can be pretty cheap at sometimes. I mean, there's a reason why like I don't know. It's just so funny to think that like you can go on to Steam, you could find like an indie game for like $15. That's better than probably a AAA game that's out there that was way overpriced, $70. It's like it doesn't need to be like that all the time. It can be something else,
Yeah.
We said this 100,000 times. We'll say it another 100,000 times more. Is that not every AAA game should cost $70, $60, $70 or whatever. It's where it comes to this is just how it's been. We are considered AAA, so we're going to price it at $70 or $60, $70. That's just how it's going to be. And it's like, it doesn't matter if the game is short, doesn't matter if the game is long, doesn't matter if the game is bad. We're just going to do it anyway. And you should really go into basis thing or whatever in my mind.
This is going to sound kind of shitty in a way, but I know you can judge Xbox for a lot of stuff. They in no way are doing well this generation. I do like the idea of what they're doing in terms of like their mid-gen refresh, because apparently, according to insiders, they're working on a handheld right now, as opposed to like an Xbox Series X Pro model or whatever.
Okay.
Which I do think there is more of a market for that than there is something like the PS5 Pro.
I mean, yeah, I'm inclined to agree as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if they can, especially if they can price it, competitively and keep it at like $300-400.
If they can price it competitively, and it plays well and everything like that, there's not a whole lot of issues technological or whatever. Games play smooth and everything like that. Then it's gonna be great. It'll be a good thing for them.
Like all they need again, $400. It can play games as well as the Steam Deck, and you can put Game Pass on it. I think there is a real market for that.
Oh, absolutely. If the Switch and the Steam Deck has taught the gaming industry anything, is that people want to have the ability to maybe not sit in front of a TV, like maybe just lay on the couch or whatever and just play games, or take it on the go. It's like if that's told us anything, that's just what it's going to be. So
it's kind of weird that PlayStation has never thought about getting into that.
I mean, they did they did like that one thing that was terrible. Where it was basically just like they split the controller in half, and it was just like a screen in the middle.
Yeah,
I don't remember what that was called.
I don't either. I remember it came out, and
it came out, and it was just like you needed to like have it in. You need to have it like connected to a PlayStation, and like it needed to be online for you to play it too. So it was kind of defeated the purpose of taking it on the go. Seemed like a pretty half-baked idea.
I think someone at Sony was like, okay, like this is what the gaming industry is doing now, but we don't want to. We obviously can't make this thing as powerful as like a PS5. And we don't want to put too many resources in it in case it doesn't do well. So let's just do this kind of halfway thing, I guess.
Pretty much.
I don't know. It was fucking stupid.
I don't know. I just don't know what Sony's play is with this or whatever. And it's like,
I think they just, like we said, are getting cocky. What Sony I think needs to realize, and maybe I'm completely wrong here. Maybe they know something that I don't. But I think they're in the most precarious position that they've been in since the late PS3 era. Like, we don't really know what games they have coming out. And the few that we do know, people aren't really excited for. Like, Guerrilla Games, they're apparently not working on another Horizon game. They're making a Horizon multiplayer game for whatever reason. Like, we have Bungie working on Marathon, I guess, which is apparently only a skeleton crew now. I guess we're gonna get another God of War game? Maybe?
I don't know.
I don't know. There's just a lot of uncertainty going on in PlayStation's internal studios. So to be taking this balls to the wall, like, we can do whatever we fucking want, where Sony mindset, I don't really think is the play. That's just me, though.
Look, I don't want to say Concord was the first of many to come, but
it does feel like a smoking gun.
It's like, here's the thing is like you just said, it's like we're Sony, we can do whatever we want type thing. It's really what Concord felt like, right? It's like, we're Sony, you're gonna buy this shit because we're Sony, and it's like they tried to do the Nintendo thing where it's like, we're Nintendo, to buy our shit. So, and it's just like, and everyone was just like, no,
you're not Nintendo, you can't get away with that.
Exactly. So we're just like, also it's like it's this new IP called Concord that we don't give a shit about. It's not like it's like a Legend of Zelda or some shit like that, or Mario game.
You're pricing it like it's a premium product when all your competitors are free. Then you're adding on a cash shop on top of it.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to discuss further, like,
we already did that last week.
That was Concord. I do want to say I do not think that game's coming back anymore.
Oh, absolutely not.
The fact that they're removing any and all traces from it from any and all stores,
they want to erase it from existence.
It's like, if that comes back in any form, I will be
if, like, in 5 years that game they decide that, oh, here's like a technical upgrade and everything like that to fit more modern gaming, and then it's free to play now, and I go, why would you even do that? Why? Just make a new game in that time, please.
If they wait 5 years to do that,
or like a year or something like that. I don't know.
Okay, that
even that I think will be too short.
I could just imagine, like, Sony being like, okay, so that was a disaster. What are you going to do to fix it? Well, we can do all this stuff, but it's going to take some time. How long? 5 years? Fuck that. Make a new video game.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, scrap it. Like, hey, it's like we said last week. Sometimes you got to put down the shovel, and I think they finally realized we got to put down the shovel. I don't know. But yeah, it's just like, it's really funny to me to think that it's like that mentality kind of came through with Concord, and it's just like, and you wonder if, like, okay, that didn't work out type thing. Let's not do that again. Sony might be looking at. It's like, let's not do that again and actually, like, do this right or something like that. But going back to, again, what you said prior to that is like, we don't know what's being made. It's like, I fully 100% I think predicted this. I don't know if I ever said this on this podcast, but I said to myself, it's like, Sony's putting out a lot of shit. After that, they're going to have nothing for years because that was all of the games they were working on during COVID, and now they're all out. Now what? Because usually how things kind of go is that there's a steady flow of this, like, you know, God of War comes out this year, whatever, Spider-Man out the next year after that type thing or whatever, and that continues to go on and go forth. Whereas this time it was just boom, it's all here. All right, what you got next? Insomniac, what are you doing?
PS5 Pro.
Wolverine. Yeah. How long is that going to take?
I heard that was delayed until 2026.
5 years?
Yeah.
Can you do it in 3? Probably not. I don't know. It's we'll see what it actually is in the store. Obviously, neither one of us have any clue whatsoever. No. We're as in the dark as everyone else, but it's like at the same time, it's like maybe you could just give us a little hint.
Even considering, like, they really should have shown off a game with the PS5 Pro. That would have helped at least a little, I think.
Yeah.
But the fact that the main thing that they use to show off the PS5 Pro is a PS4 game, holy shit. But
yeah,
I mean, Oswa's too good looking game, but holy shit, what were you guys thinking? But
yeah, not the greatest idea.
Putting all of Sony's future plans aside and what they have coming out aside, looking at the PS5 Pro purely as a product and in terms of like value proposition, it just isn't good. Like even when you went from like the PS4 to the PS4 Pro, there were some noticeable like improvements there. With the PS5 Pro, to get the general like PS5 experience, you need to spend another $110 on top of the $700 you're already spending to get the disc drive attached to it, first and foremost. Then it's like everyone's been talking like the upgrades really aren't noticeable.
They're very marginal
at all. I'm not sure if you heard this, but the thing that was really getting me, it's like, oh, so games are always going to be 60 FPS on that thing. That's really cool. Apparently that's not true. A lot of the 30 FPS games that are on the PS5 are still apparently going to be 30 FPS on the PS5 Pro.
Really?
They're just going to have slightly better resolutions, I guess, which who cares? I'm paying an extra $200.
This is
$300 for this thing.
This is what people I remember back when the PS5 and like Xbox Series X were coming out. It was just like, do we need an updated like stuff for that? Like, is it worth it to get a PS5 and everything like that? And obviously that was like during heavy scalping and supply versus demand was the supply was not up to meeting the demand. No. So it was just like people wanted it because it was the big thing, but also at the same time, it's like you sat there going to yourself, it's like, why do I want a PS5 at the moment? It's like they didn't have many games, and the difference between the PS4 Pro and then the PS5 was, I mean, there was differences, but it was like not a ton at the time, and I look at it kind of like that as well. It's like it's just like. Eventually, and this is what I said. I think I remember saying when that was coming out. Is that eventually we'll see the main differences between the 4 and the 5. Do I think that Final Fantasy 16 could have been played on the PS4 and ran as smoothly as it did? Absolutely not. There's no fucking way in hell. I'm just gonna say it right now, and that's why I say like the first, like, even Demon Souls, like the Demon Souls remake, it was like probably was the first big one, but I think it was once 16 came out, FF16, it was just like, boom, here's what like hyper realistic but like fantasy setting basically can look like on the PS5 and everything like that, and you went, holy shit.
I mean, that's the thing. So the PS5 by itself is an already like powerful and really like solid piece of technology. So and it's a matter of whether or not that extra $300 is going to upgrade your experience that much.
Just be worth it to you, yeah.
And at least from my perspective, the value just isn't there.
Oh, absolutely.
I
Here's the
guess.
thing: as real casual players like you and me, like
Mhm.
we're not, the sweaty gamers or whatever. Which I don't know why you'd play sweaty games on PS5 or whatever.
Why would you play on console in general?
Why would you just play on console in general? I feel like when it
Mhm.
comes to competitive sweaty type games, you're probably going to be playing PC anyway. And also, by the way, you can buy a PC that's about as good as that for that price as well.
Oh no, there are plenty of pre-builts. Like the 4060 is not that powerful of a card. It will at least it'll take you a long way though, and you can get a lot of pre-builts like that for about the exact same
Around
price
that
as the
price,
PS5
yeah.
Pro. And the benefit to that is it's a PC. It can do all the PC stuff on top of playing video games.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah,
And you
it
can
really comes,
upgrade it.
but yeah, it really comes down to it's just like, do we as a majority of people who just play casually games look at it and say,
Mhm.
okay, is this worth, trading in our PS5 or whatever, selling the PS5 or whatever to then buy the PS5 Pro? No, it most certainly will not be. So, who's this for? This is for the PlayStation fanboys, right? Like,
Yeah, pretty much. That's all I think. Or those are the only people I've seen that have been like legit interested in the thing.
like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I sit here going just like I don't see the point of this, and it's like I mean I said the same thing about that with like the PS4 Pro too. It was just like I thought the PS4 played games perfectly fine. I didn't really see the need for a Pro, but whatever. I mean, just because you can, because capitalism is at its finest, right?
I mean, I bought my PS4 Pro, and I remember I bought that because my PS4 was super old and it was really loud.
See, that's the other thing as well is that this is coming out still pretty early on in the PlayStation 5's life cycle.
It feels like that, yeah.
Like I feel like this is something that comes out like in like 2 years, and we go, oh, and it has like. And like you said, it's like the fact is like they were using like PlayStation 4 games or whatever tells me that they probably looked at the differences between the PS5 games and probably didn't see that big of a difference and knew that people wouldn't see a big of a difference.
Yeah.
And also this tells me that they're marketing it towards older gamers that wanted to go, oh, I remember playing that game on the PS4. I could play that on the PS5 and it looks even better.
And now you get an even slightly better experience with the PS4 at 5 Pro.
Uh-huh.
Good on you.
See, you
But
see what I mean?
If this is supposed to be the like the mid-gen refresh, does that mean we're getting the PlayStation 6 in like 5 years? That
That'd be
just
something.
seems super early.
That'd be something.
And here's the weird thing to me. It's like, in terms of like the PlayStation 6 and whatever the fuck the next gen Xbox is going to be. So Nintendo's obviously going to do their own thing. I'm not even counting them in
Switch 2 or whatever the hell it is.
What is that even going to look like? Because are we going to have like, are 8K TVs going to be mainstream by then? I don't think so.
That is a really good question, honestly.
So obviously, 4K started out super expensive and it got less expensive over time.
Yep.
I think that it's going to be at least a decade before like 8K TVs become mainstream. Because right now to get like a decent 8K TV, it's like $5,000-$6,000 minimum, and I think it's going to take a long. Because I remember with even 4K, it took a while for those prices to get down, for them to be able to be purchased by general consumers. Around they started getting like that cheap around the launch of the Series X and the PS5. Now that I really think about it, but I do not. I do think we're gonna get another next gen PlayStation and Xbox in the next, let's say, 5 to 8 years. I hate to say that, but that's my prediction anyway. I do not think 8K TVs are going to be normalized by then. So the question remains, where do you go from here then? Because it's like graphics are already pretty phenomenal on both the Series X and the PS5. I don't really think you can take them more like beyond that. And graphics in many ways are kind of hitting like a peak to the point where people are like, okay, where do we go from here? And do we even want to go there? When more and more people are more interested in stylized games.
This is where I want to go back to an earlier point I think you made, was that games are going to... I think at some point, and it's a point I kind of said earlier too, is that at some point gaming is going to have to go from these big, ultra-realistic games as this is the only type of AAA game to smaller, more stylized, more artistic type things or whatever. Kind of what indie games are doing in a way, but maybe at a bigger scale at certain points or whatever. You pointed out to like Hi-Fi Rush or whatever was, I think, a good example of that. It's like games like that aren't priced at the $70 range or whatever, that could be at like the $40 cost range or whatever, that are still, decently big, but have a good have like a decent production cost around it, but at the same time it's like not overly crazy too. So it's like, if you ask me, I think that is where gaming is probably going to go. To which then, does something like PS5 Pro even need to exist at that point? Probably not, in theory. And that's why I'm going to go back to you're talking about, like, Xbox is going to make like their own like mobile gaming thing or whatever. And I started going just like, yeah, I think that's a really smart move by them, because it's like they can put indie games on it. Because to me, it is interesting, I'm going to say this, but like,
yeah,
Xbox feels like it's starting to do that. Like it's moving away from the super hyper realistic ones to more of this like indie style, and I think they've been trying to do that for a while, just failing.
It does feel like that's the direction they're kind of going in with releases like South of Midnight and the other games they're making.
Yeah, like they showed off a few of them at the last one or whatever, and it felt like it was like kind of like an indie game showcase, but not really indie. It'll be interesting to see like what we consider as AAA. Will that be completely different from what we know it as in 5 years? Like, will that prediction come true? And what the super realistic games are, the ones that are just like massive, huge scale, everything like that, the games that we know today, will those be like the ultra games or something like that? I don't know. I don't want to call it quad A game, because then I'm just going into a meme. But
I do think those games will still exist. I think
absolutely,
they will ultimately be. I think they'll be all more in the minority, though.
They will not be everywhere like they are now.
Can I throw out a bold prediction for what I think the next generation of consoles are going to look like for both Sony and Xbox?
Sure, go for it.
Because I have a kind of an interesting idea. I think it's going to play out almost exactly like the start of this generation did. First off, I think it's going to be all digital. I don't think it's going to be all game streaming. Especially with the PS5 Pro, I 100% think that at least Sony is going to be like, okay, let's just do digital now. Why the heck not? I think more and more people are. It's sad, but more and more people are slowly accepting the sad decay of physical media, and I think in the next decade that market's just going to be.
The market will be just collectors at that point.
Yeah, it's like the fact that the only way I had to get Inside Out 2 was to pre-order like a special steelbook of it is like.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that this market is getting pretty niche, but
the thing is, though, I could see it coming back around in a decade. Like, I think so. I'm not saying that they're going to have like physical releases for games or DVDs or whatever. It's just that I think that you'll see studios or games offer that as an option, and then they'll be like, "Hey, we won't make this, but if you want to buy the disc, then we'll make it and send it to you."
Yeah. I think we've discussed this on a
We
previous
have,
podcast.
yeah.
Like the collector's market will still exist. We don't need to get back into that, but
Exactly.
I do think they're at least going to try doing an all digital thing. They may release a disc drive or whatever, kind of like what they did with the PS5 this generation. But I do think they're going to start out with just that. And I think with Sony, I think they're just going to, instead of releasing like two different versions, like this is the digital version, this is the disc version, I think they're just going to go straightforward. This is a premium product, and I think they're going to price it again. Also, I think the base price is going to be $700. I think that's what they're going to keep it at. I am very confident in that price point, unless Sony has kind of an awakening of being like, oh, we're not invincible. People won't spend this much money on one of our consoles. I think they're going to be confident enough to do that. With Xbox, I think they're going to do something similar. I think they're going to release a premium box that will have like, oh, this one can do all the, fancy, pretty graphics or whatever. But I also think they're going to have a smaller Xbox Series S type console where it's like, okay, less demanding games can be downloaded on this, and you can, stream like the higher res quality games or whatever. And then I think they're going to also release just a pure streaming stick. I'm not sure how many of those they'll develop. I'm not sure how many of those they'll sell. I do think that they're going to have like a Game Pass dedicated streaming stick. But I know they're also going to want to have like dedicated hardware that can download this shit, because they do not have the streaming rights to Call of Duty, and they want all of their people to be, online playing, COD through their services.
Yeah.
That is just where I'm at. That's what I think that they're going to do.
I agree with you, but I think that probably the streaming stick will probably come later on in that one. Like, I don't think it will release right off the bat.
Yeah.
It'll be something they'll look into and then maybe try and make it a thing, like after a couple of years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
I do ultimately think that I think we both acknowledge that game streaming is kind of like the future of the industry. That's where everybody wants to go. The just infrastructure isn't there yet.
I mean, as we said earlier, it's like, why would Sony, if they could do this all online with just a streaming stick and they wouldn't have to spend the money to make a console it's in and of itself, and then take a hit on that console, then why wouldn't they? If it was feasible and it played well, yeah, they would absolutely do that.
Yeah. And again, this is another thing that I think we've discussed before, but like the infrastructure just isn't there yet. Not enough people can use it where it works reliably. All I was suggesting is that they're going to try testing the waters, I think, with their next generation of consoles.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're gonna metaphorically dip their toes in the pool to see, how many people are really interested in something like this, and how far can we start to take this.
Yeah, it's measuring interest in seeing its viability and everything like that. It really comes down to it. It's like, I really think that a lot of companies learned a lot from Stadia. It's like, I believe that 100% that at some point companies were rooting for Stadia to actually succeed, but seeing the technical shortcomings of it, said that we're just not ready yet. We're not there yet, type thing. And so we need to keep going with consoles. But the instant we think we can move away from consoles, we will. But you just have to be very careful in how you do that.
The thing that makes me depressed about the slow death of physical media is that companies love the idea of you not owning shit.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, I acknowledge that I'm kind of contributing to this by being a Game Pass subscriber, but game companies love it when you do not own your video games, because that means they get money from you forever.
It's the same thing with like with just like the subscriptions and streaming services from watching TV shows, watching movies or whatever. It's like we all sit here going, just like we all pay for people pay for Disney Plus or whatever, but and you sit there. You sit there and you go, you can go watch Inside Out 2, but the instant you stop paying for it, hey, look at that, you lose the ability to watch Inside Out 2.
I will say, I am not subscribed to any movie TV shows streaming services. I'm still buying all my movies.
It's fair, but there are a lot more people.
I get that.
I know. That's why I'm saying it is just like, yeah. No, you're right, and I agree.
I just am sucking my own dick here.
Yeah.
But that's the reality with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
no, but that was the thing is like, and even like, I mean, you look at like the movie scene in general when it comes to just like movie theaters or whatever. It's like they've been taking massive hits since the streaming became a thing or whatever.
But yeah, look, you were talking about Disney Plus. Look at it from Disney's perspective. It's like, well, Disney Plus is getting too expensive. I can't afford that. And Disney is just going to be over here being like, fuck else are you going to do?
Yeah, what? You're gonna buy all your movies? Hey, guess what? You can't buy those. Oh, you want to buy those on like Vudu or some shit?
Not available.
Oh yeah, they're not available. That's right.
We decide when and where you buy our products.
Either subscribe to Disney Plus or just don't watch your shit. And I go,
yeah,
cry. Interesting.
Yeah. Sucks. That's the thing. They can do that. Once you're locked into their ecosystem, you're playing those games. They know we can start charging people whatever we want, because the second they don't pay for it, they're gonna realize all their shit is just gone.
Mm-hmm. Like
so
movies and shows that you liked watching, all gone.
Game movie streaming, that is the way of the future, because these billion-dollar companies know that they can get away with it. That is why it's a future I don't want to subscribe to until I absolutely have to in terms of movies. I'm already a bitch when it comes to video games because I pay for Game Pass, like the little cuckboy that I am.
It is interesting. It's like I like owning the physical stuff, but I will be the first to admit I haven't bought a game physically in a long time.
Well, with games, it sucks, because it's like when you buy a movie, like all of the movie is on the disc. You can just watch it through that. With a game, nowadays, that's not always the case anymore.
No.
In fact, very rarely is it the case. You're going to have to download like more than half of it from the internet anyway, and the games where you don't have to do that usually have a pretty big day one patch.
Yep.
So it's like, what's even the point in having a disc for a video game? It sucks to say that, and that doesn't apply to obviously like Nintendo, because they're Nintendo and they can do whatever they want. But most Xbox, PlayStation games, the full game just isn't on that disc anymore.
No. That's why I find it interesting. I was like, that Rebirth was like 2 discs or whatever, and I went, what's the point of that?
Did you still have to download something for that?
I didn't buy it physically. I bought it digitally because I saw it was 2 discs, and I said, fuck that. I don't want to switch discs midway through the game. I guess it's the idea that it was like, because how many discs was the original 7? Was it like 4 discs?
It was 4 discs.
God damn, dude. Maybe it was to play for that old school nostalgia.
That may be why.
I don't know. It's like, here, continue this with disc 2 or whatever right here. And it's like, oh, crap. Where did I put the case? Oh, no. There's the second disc. No.
I do think nowadays, what they probably would have done is, like, insert disc 2 to finish installing instead of just putting the disc in halfway through. I think is how that would have went down.
Probably.
Because I think they did something similar with Red Dead 2, where I had to insert 2 discs in order to finish downloading the full game on my Xbox.
Did they really? Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think I remember. It was either that or it was Grand Theft Auto. It was one of those two. On my 360.
I guess I could believe it was like GTA 5.
That was a big game.
Still is.
I bought that game physically for my PC, if you can believe it, and that came on like 5 discs.
God damn, dude. How long ago was that?
Oh, that was a fucking long time ago. That was when that game first released for PC. I was still in high school at that point.
See, that's what I mean. It's like, dude, GTA 5's been around for fucking a billion years at this point.
I wonder how much money that shit's worth, because I bet they didn't sell a lot of those. Like
Really?
a physical copy for PC.
Physical copy for PC. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, that's got to be a collector's thing, right? If not, it will be at some point. So I'd hold on to that shit. Anyone that's got that shit, hold on to it, because if it's in decent condition, it will go for a lot of money probably.
$14 on eBay. Nope.
Yeah, hold on to that shit though. Trust me.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it's like,
It's probably not worth much now, but
No.
it will be one day.
exactly. Like, I was like, now that with like the PS3 and like Xbox 360 like are like entering into the retro gaming, because it'll be like 20 years old, and so people are like buying up like unsealed or like unopened copies of like games, of like really popular games, like for cheap now, but they think that they'll go up later on because people will like want the nostalgia, and it's like, oh, this is an unopened version of I don't know, some Halo game.
I wonder, let's see how much a sealed copy of Halo 3 costs.
See, I could see that worth being. I could see that worth a lot. Maybe not now, but you know, at some point.
Factory sealed new is about $120. Ooh, here's a graded one.
Yeah. Then you get into like, oh, let's grade video games or whatever. Oh boy.
Yeah. For 360 and PS3, it feels so weird.
It does, but like, it's crazy. If the card market has taught me anything, you know, being a collector of card games and stuff like that, is that if you have iconic cards that are in like good condition or whatever, they'll sell for a fucking lot of money. So it's like, I assume that probably video games will be that at one point. It's like, if you have an unopened copy of it or whatever, of like your Halo 3 or whatever, it's like $100 now. It's like, that could be worth way more later on.
Here's a 9.6 for about $450.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's the market is definitely going to get there, because more and more people are going to be nostalgic for this shit.
See, the thing is, the old gamers are going to get even older, and then they're going to go, I remember playing the Halo 3 on the Xbox 360. And I was like, okay, Grandpa, we're going to go to bed. The Xbox 360 never existed. Yes, it did, Sonny. I swear it did.
Halo was on top of the world back then.
It was the greatest game in the history of the world. All right, Grandpa, let's get you down for your nap.
God damn it, Microsoft. How the fuck did you fumble that bag so hard?
That's a great question.
You had the biggest game franchise on the face of the planet, and you fucked it up.
Somehow, some way.
God damn it, dude.
It really was. They let Bungie go or whatever, and just not let them make their own games. Pretty much.
I mean, if you're gonna make Halo games, though, and if they're not gonna be made by Bungie, at least try to make them good.
Yeah, that's fair.
Son of a bitch! Instead you came out with Halo 4 and 5. You fucking kidding me? Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna go off for hours if you start talking about that. So
It's always the thing where it doesn't matter what the franchise is. If at some point you can say, here's where it was the greatest, and then either changed hands or got bought by a different company or something like that, and then it went downhill, it's like, yeah, it was predictable. Rarely when it comes to iconic games do new people, when exchange hands, does it work out. Doesn't matter what the game is or anything like that. It's just what it is.
So do you have any opinions on what next gen is going to look like based off the PS5 Pro or whatever?
I mean, I'm pretty much. I think I take the stance pretty much like you do or whatever. It's kind of like they probably looked at it like Sony looked at like what the Xbox did with the Series X and S, and it's like, I think that they can refine that a little bit better and a little bit more. Like you were saying, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you have one that's like for more casual like type things or whatever. It's like these aren't going to play the big high end games, like not well at least. Like you can play them, but they might not be smooth or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's console, and or you can pay for the big higher up one where that it will play everything at high resolution and high frame rate and everything like that. And then like in a few years, they'll look into maybe more seriously look into like a stream stick. That's really what it comes down to. And if that becomes a thing and that's truly the case, then the days of the generations of PlayStation, Xbox are gone.
Basically
They're done.
Yeah.
Because this will just be the PlayStation, the Xbox, whatever. It'll be interesting to see what Nintendo does when that happens. It's like, will they follow suit or will they continue to release consoles? I don't know.
I 100% think they're gonna still try to release consoles.
I agree. And that's the thing. It's like I really do agree. And I wonder if if the streaming thing does work out, will like Xbox and PlayStation, if it's not already a thing, have like a mobile type thing, like a Switch, like a Steam Deck or whatever for their services.
Oh, they're probably gonna try, absolutely.
Oh yeah, but if it's not established, will they work to establish that it's super fast?
Yeah,
I would have to believe.
I'm confident in that.
Gaming's in a funky time. I is what I always say to myself whenever stuff like this happens. It's like I think that companies have, I mean they've known for a while, but it's like that they finally have realized that like we could make so much money off this if we just greed this thing to utter death, basically. But gamers have always kind of fought back on that, and it's like, and they still continue to fight back to this day. I mean, there's a reason why people are ridiculing the PS5 Pro right now.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, what do we care? We'll still make millions of dollars. And it's that kind of mentality that usually when it was ridiculed on like social media and stuff like that, they go, "Oh, well, we didn't mean for this to go like that or whatever." Now it's like it just doesn't happen. It just don't care anymore because they know they're going to make profit.
Yeah, here's another thing. Do you obviously a lot of people are talking shit about the PS5 Pro now, including us. I personally have no interest or plan on buying one.
Oh, absolutely. I will not buy one. Are you kidding me?
Do you think that this thing has more customers than people are giving it credit for? Do you think it's still going to be like a successful console?
Oh, absolutely. Because again, like we said, it's like the Sony fanboys will eat this shit up.
That's so fucking sad.
Exactly. It's like that's why I say here is that we can sit here and ridicule this thing to death. Like, why is this $700? The whole point of making games is so that we're supposed to get more people into games and stuff like that. That is the one thing. It is the one thing I've loved about gaming since the moment I started gaming back when I was like 6 years old, not even 8 years old, when I was 6, is that everyone wanted everyone to experience a game. If they found a game that they really liked, they wanted other people to experience it. And now it's kind of just like, as the years have kind of gone on, it feels like gaming is becoming more of a... It's always been a hobby, but like... luxury item is really what it comes down to. It's like it's a luxury, and it's like, in my opinion, that's not what it should be, right?
No, it should be more accessible to people instead of less accessible. That's why this move just doesn't make any sense to me. Sony should be. I know it sounds dumb. Sony of all companies needing to get more people in through the door, but. That's what they should be trying to do. Trying to appeal more to that market of people that, really don't play many games and haven't really bought games or consoles in the past, and now they're starting to get into it. But a lot of general consumers are going to look at gaming as a hobby, and they're going to look at the $500 to $700 barrier to entry, and I feel like a lot of people would just be like, forget it. I'm not that interested.
Yeah, it's too expensive and it just turns people off instantly. It's like no one's gonna want to spend $700 for a console. People didn't even want to spend the $500 for the original PS5. You know, it's like I get that. $500 is still a lot of money. You know, for an average person that, you know, like we said, only games on occasion or whatever, maybe plays like maybe an hour or two a night or something like that. It's like it's still a lot of money. It's like
that.
You can buy a laptop and play just about every other game that you want to play.
It's exactly what the kind of thing that the Switch Lite and the Series S appeals to.
Exactly.
Not that many people bought the Series S in hindsight.
I get that, but and this is where I say it's like Microsoft had a concept for what the Series S works. It didn't work out, basically, like as they wanted to. It was a concept that they explored. It was a good idea, just not done well, I think.
Yeah.
I think when it comes down to it is that the whole point, like, spending $100 less for a less powerful console doesn't really appeal to a lot of gamers and stuff like that. And I know the whole point of the S was to, you know, incentivize, like we've been saying, it's like to get this is like the starter console for some young kid that's just getting into gaming or whatever. Mm-hmm. But with the internet so prevalent or whatever, and it's just like kids will look into, and it's like, well, it's like, can I convince my mom to, you know, put fork over, like maybe I'll pay for like half or maybe like $100 or something like that. I'll break open the piggy bank type thing to, you know, get a Series S. And it's just like at that point, but it's just like, but for like $100 more, I could get the X, and it'll run way better than the S will. Mm-hmm. Like that's the idea. It's really interesting to think that if they could have priced this lower, would it have actually done better? Like if the S could have been, and I'm sure that Microsoft tried to push it maybe lower, but they just said it's just not financially possible to do that.
Yeah.
At some point, we were just like, how much of an L are we going to be taking on this if we're going to be doing that, right? So I get it, but it's like if he could have, would it have been more successful? Who knows, right?
Maybe, yeah.
So that's why it's like it comes down to like you're saying with the Switch Lite or whatever. It's just like I don't know what the sales are for the Switch Lite compared to the normal Switch, or if they're like. I mean, I still assume that the Switch would do better.
I mean, obviously, yeah, but I think the Switch Lite did okay, especially like during COVID and shit.
Oh yeah,
like
during
when
COVID, yes.
People, like when people were getting way into Animal Crossing and stuff. I think the Switch Lite moved hella units back then.
Okay, so looking at some of the numbers off of a initial Google search, it says here that in 2024 fiscal year. The original Switch consoles made 3.86 million. The OLED Switch made 9.32 million, and the Switch Lite did 2.52 million. So it's like that's still respectable.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
It's like it is still like $1 million less than the Switch, but it's like still way better than I thought it was going to be. To be honest with you.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I think it comes down to it's just like when you're buying the Switch Lite for a specific thing, right? Like it's not like just buying like what am I trying to say here? It's not like buying like an Xbox or whatever, like the Xbox Series S or whatever. It's like the light goes around and everything like that. And it plays everything in the cost. The only downside is that you can't put it on a dock.
Connect it to your
whatever. I think the whole point was that it was supposed to be for more mobile gaming anyway. Like that was the point of it. It was smaller, whatever, that type of thing. And it was probably meant for like children. So it was like the perfect thing. It's like while the parents are playing on the TV or whatever, the kid can be playing on the Switch Lite. It's perfect. Imagine if the Xbox Series S was a portable Xbox.
It would have done so much better.
It would have done so good, I think, at that point.
Because that would have been out before the Steam Deck was. They could have beat Steam.
They
To
could
that
have beat the
market.
Steam Deck, and they would have been only really challenged by the Switch, which, yeah, man, just imagine. Yeah, I don't know.
I think we speculate all the time. Like things could have been
It's
done
always
so differently for Xbox.
it's like looking at the future, knowing how things pan out and everything like that. The hindsight 2020 and everything like that. It's like if this little change had happened, boy, things would be a lot different, right? It's crazy. Just like
Yeah.
the concept is there, but just not quite executed or whatever. And it's just like, and then you look at it, it's like this one little change would have made the whole difference. That's why I sit here going just like I don't know what Sony's looking forward with this with the Pro. It's like what are they trying to do? Couldn't tell you.
I think someone in Sony headquarters was like, "Hey, people are expecting a Pro, so let's just."
Do you know what it is?
Put
You know
this
what I
out
really
there.
think it is though? Is
Yeah.
that people were looking at the next Switch to be a more powerful Switch that's less portable type thing, and they said we could do that with the PlayStation, and everyone will be excited for it. And I went, what? No. But they did it anyway because damn it, we're Sony.
They're gonna buy it anyway. People love PlayStation.
It's like the only reason that people were excited for the possibility of a more powerful Switch is because the Switch was struggling to run some of its bigger games.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. We all wanted to see a very powerful Switch and like run like a Breath of the Wild or a Tears of a Kingdom like thing and just go like, whoa, it's like 60 FPS, it's crazy, it looks awesome type thing. And I go, we're never gonna get that because Nintendo doesn't care about that. If the game runs on the Switch, they don't give a shit.
You were right. I heard the Switch 2, whatever that's supposed to be, is apparently going to be backwards compatible with your old Switch library.
I knew it.
So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and it should be, especially if they're planning on launching this, because I think initially that was I think what the PS5 really kind of like. Obviously, other than it being like small supply or whatever, it's like I didn't buy it for 2 years or something, 2-3 years, 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was just
I think it was like.
Yeah, I think I bought it in like 2022, and it was just like there's no games I want to play on it. That's really what it came down to. And then one game did come out, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I kind of do want to get one because there's actually games out for it now. Because like if the Switch launches and it's like, oh, we just have like this one Mario game and that's it. It's like, well, why do I want to get a Switch 2 then? It's like, can I play the old Switch games? Yes. Okay, cool. Now I'll buy it.
All right. To be fair, it worked out well enough for them with the Switch because the only games they really launched with that console was 1-2 Switch, which who cares, and Zelda, and it's like, and everyone was just instantly like, oh, Zelda's enough. That's fine. I'll buy one.
I mean, yeah, because all it can sometimes take is one big game. One game that everyone wanted to play.
I don't think the launch of the Series X or PlayStation had a game like that.
They did not. It's like PlayStation kind of had like the Ratchet and Clank Rifts Apart, and then like
no, that came like a year afterwards.
Was that a year after? Was it the Demon Souls?
It was a while ago afterwards. I think it was Demon Souls and I think Astrobot. There may have been one more, but
I can't remember.
But yeah, no, I do remember like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. That was a while afterwards because I think I got my PS5 shortly after that game came out, and that was like a year and a half later. Yeah, exactly a year later, 2021.
Yep.
So I guess it wasn't that long of a wait, but it certainly was not a launch title. What were the PS5 launch titles? Then I think Xbox just had nothing. I don't even remember what their launch lineup was.
I mean, it was basically just like Astro's Playroom, like the Demon Souls.
No, I'm talking about Xbox.
Oh, Xboxes. Oh, I thought you said PlayStation.
Yeah, what the fuck did they launch with?
I don't fucking know. No, that I have no idea.
There was Miles Morales for the PS5.
Yeah, there was.
That was fine. It was Godfall. I remember you really liked that game for a while.
I mean, I played it for like a day and a half.
Fucking Bug Snacks. God
Fucking
damn
Bug
it.
Snacks. Who could forget about Bug Snacks, dude? Where's the sequel? Give us the sequel.
Man, you got me so drunk, and I appreciate the hell out of you.
I remember that.
I will never forgive myself for not saving that recording. That shit was so fucking
It was
funny.
so good.
So the Series X launched with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Destiny 2, Dirt 5, Fortnite. Wow, they literally had nothing. Because it's listing like Sea of Thieves on here, which no. I think the only new game that they had was that one Gears 5 expansion for Xbox, and they literally just had nothing else.
God damn.
I think they were pretty heavily relying on Game Pass.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
they wanted whatever the next Halo game was to launch, Halo Infinite to launch with the Series X. That very much did not end up happening.
That's right. The Xbox or the PlayStation 5 launched with Borderlands 3, and I was like, after it was already out on, I think Epic Game
PS4.
Store.
Yeah.
Was it, and PS4, yeah. But it was just like, damn, son. Feels like an eternity ago. Dude, I like how with the rapid growing success of the Borderlands movie, they announced Borderlands 4.
I hope it's good.
Here's
I
hoping
don't
that
think it will be.
here's hoping that Gearbox learned something from the past few games that they put out. It's like Borderlands 3 started rough. It got better. It's a pretty good game now. Tiny Tina's just didn't have the support. That was the main issue it had there. So I'm hoping Borderlands 4 will actually be good. I'll probably still buy it. I'm a sucker.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Most likely my brother will be like, oh, let's go ahead and play it on day one. I'm like, okay, sure. Do you ever find that like there will only be like friends will sway you to buy games that you're not necessarily sure if you want to buy, or like if you have people to play with, you're more likely to buy games.
Dude, I nearly bought Suicide Squad because my brother was crazy about it.
Yeah, I remember you telling me
I
that.
came so close, and yeah, I wanted to play the game with him, but goddamn, I just did not want to play Suicide Squad, so I never ended up buying it.
That was how Godfall was with me. My brother was really excited to play Godfall, so I was just like, okay, I'll buy it, and I did, and we played it for a day and a half, and we never picked it up again.
Garbo.
Yeah, it was not good.
Is Suicide Squad free to play now? I'm curious.
I don't think so.
They're still trying to charge $70 for that shit? That's criminal.
See, here's the thing. Isn't there supposed to be like some like Suicide Squad like anime like coming out in like soonish?
Who cares?
All it tells me is that WB hasn't given up on the shit franchise that is Suicide Squad. That only had Suicide Squad 2 was good, and the first one was garbage.
It's not even a sequel. It's a reboot that was made by
That's right. It was
James
a
Gunn
reboot.
or whatever.
That's right.
Every single other Suicide Squad thing has failed miserably. I have no clue why they're still on this trend. They did release a new Arkham game, and it was a VR exclusive.
That's right.
Just make another Arkham Batman game. Or go back and make your Wonder Woman game. There's so much cool stuff that you could do. Oh, man. We're not going to rant about Suicide Squad again, though. Instead,
Dude, that was the same thing with when Concord got shut down. The Sony was just saying they didn't have enough good franchises to continue the thing, and I go, "What are you talking about?"
And then they release Astrobot the next day that showcases like hundreds of them.
I know, right?
The fuck is wrong with that? The fuck is wrong with people over there?
Makes you wonder.
Sony, I don't get you. I don't get why you are why you're doing the things.
Why are you the
doing.
way you are?
Like I get again, we're getting back into this. I get live services make money, but you're gonna make 8 of them. You're gonna pull all your resources into getting maybe like 2 somewhat okay live service games, and then you're just gonna leave yourself years with nothing.
Either that, or eventually all of them will fail, and then they'll go, "Hey, Bungie, you want to continue making Destiny 2 again?" Sure, I guess we could do that.
I'm not sure I'm not sure Bungie has the resources to make Destiny anymore.
Well, that's why like when all those games fail and like Marathon's out or whatever, and they say, "Hey, we'll give you all this money and all these people or whatever. Just go back to making Destiny 2. We really need it." It was just like people loved it and everything like that. You did a really good job. Just keep doing your thing because we're broke from all these 8 titles that all failed.
Man, if they are putting the fucking God of War crew on a live service game, we don't see another like mainstream like single player game from those guys in the next like 8 to 10 years, things are going to be rough. Things will be rough over there.
I feel like that's what's basically happened to Naughty Dog with the stupid Last of Us multiplayer game that was canceled.
And now we're hearing like they just started working on Last of Us 3. How long is that shit gonna take?
Here's the thing: do we think that we're going to see Elder Scrolls 6 before it, or no?
Yeah,
it makes you wonder, though.
I think the dev time for Last of Us 3 is going to be 5 to 6 years. I actually. And I mean this very seriously. I do think we'll see the next Elder Scrolls out before that point.
Oh, shit.
Which is insane to think about.
The idea that we might actually see the day where Elder Scrolls 6 is a thing after being teased. How long ago was that?
2021. Was that like, it was a long time ago.
I swear it was before 2021, wasn't it? There was another time where they just like did a little tease of like Elder Scrolls 6. Wasn't that bad? That was before they were like bought by Microsoft, wasn't it? I swear to God.
I think a little bit before. It could have been like 2019.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking like 2019.
2018.
Fucking hell, dude.
Elder Scrolls 6
E3
official announcement teaser.
Oh!
6 years ago.
I hate.
I think that game at least has another 5-6 years in the oven, which is sad, but yeah, that's what I think. I think that game will be good. Like legit, I don't think they'll run into the same issues they ran into with Starfield, obviously. So I think
let's hope Bethesda learns some stuff.
But Bethesda, give the Fallout franchise to a different studio at Microsoft, please, so we don't have to wait 20 years for another Fallout game. So people are interested people want Fallout now. Just give it to Obsidian. Who cares?
Well, it's like the
They can
Fallout
make
show. Like, didn't I see it just won like 2 Emmys or something like that?
yeah, it did numbers. So just give it to Obsidian. Say, hey, you guys can make New Vegas too. People will love it. People will buy it. We'll just continue making Elder Scrolls. Who cares?
Yeah. And
Easiest bag of all time.
and then maybe we'll see if you actually want to continue on Starfield or not.
I mean, they're gonna release at least a few more expansions for that. Like, I think
Probably.
Shattered Space did okay. I think they're gonna release at least like 2 more, is my prediction. But like Suicide Squad, it is a skeleton crew now that I think is working on Starfield.
Yeah.
Because I think they see the writing on the wall like everyone else has.
Well, it's like it's funny to me to think that like nobody talks about Starfield. That when the hype was so big back then, it's like, oh man,
I mean, it's another.
nobody talks about it.
I mean, it's a No Man's Sky type deal, right? Except
Yeah.
Starfield. The problem with Starfield is that it was built on an even more like shaky foundation that No Man's Sky was, and a lot of their, issues are like core issues that are going to be like hard to impossible to fix. So, with Starfield, I would almost just say like, what you guys have is fine. Just walk away.
Yeah.
It is all right to have an okay video game.
Again, sometimes you just got to put down the shovel. You know, you said this was going to be a masterpiece, and you go, it just wasn't. So you know what? Put down the shovel, move on to the next game.
I do think that Elder Scrolls 6 will fare better than Starfield did. That's just me, though.
I mean, the thing with like Elder Scrolls 6 is like, yeah, obviously it's a title that people have been waiting ever since fucking Elder Scrolls 5, which came out fucking
Or like mid Xbox 360 generation. It was a long ass time ago.
2011.
Even earlier than that. I think it was like '08 that game came out.
Was it 08? Fuck me. I feel like we've looked this up 1,000 times going this. Is like, when did Skyrim come out?
2011, you were right.
Ah, I was right.
Yeah.
The only reason I remember that, it's always so funny to me, the only reason why I remember that is I was sitting in one of my business classes in high school, and I'm sitting next to my buddy or whatever, and we're just like doing some stuff or whatever on our computers, and he turns to me and he's like, dude, I played Skyrim for like 5 hours last night. And I was just like, what's Skyrim? And he goes, dude, you don't know what Skyrim is? and he just sat there. We sat there for the rest of the class. He's just like he's like, we're doing the classic thing where it's just like teachers walking around making sure we're doing our work on the computer or whatever, and he just got like another window up with like Skyrim on it. I'm just looking at it going, oh, that looks pretty cool.
Like, I saw an article recently where it was talking about Skyrim. Playing Skyrim again makes me nervous for Elder Scrolls 6 because it doesn't hold up very well. And it's kind of like a Salem's Lot situation, It's like, yeah, and by, today's gaming standards, Elder Scrolls 5 is going to look kind of, bare bones in comparison to some of the stuff that we have nowadays. But for when that game came out, it was
really good.
It was really good. It was really big. Not many games had the ambition that Skyrim had when Skyrim came out. That was the biggest game in the world back then.
Yeah, it really was. It's like when I went back and I was I think I talked to you and I talked to Billy about when I first watched The Matrix for the first time. It's like it's just like I can't. Watching The Matrix for the first time back in 2020, I was like, I never got the appreciation of just how cool The Matrix was. When it came out in, what was it, 2000? Or something like that. It was just like, I never quite, I was like, I watched it and I was like, I mean, it was alright or whatever, but like, the reason why I thought it was alright is because I had watched the stuff that was inspired by it, It was like, I watched sci-fi stuff that took stuff from The Matrix and just did it better because it was the thing that started it. Like, without The Matrix, a lot of things wouldn't have happened, type thing, or would have been different. So it's like I never really truly got the appreciation. It's the same thing with like Elder Scrolls. It's like we look back on it and we go, yeah, it's not very good now, but it's like, or at least like it doesn't hold up as it used to. But at the same time, it's like it's where it began.
Yeah, it's where a lot of these ideas were solidified and where a lot of these games took their inspiration from.
Yep.
And, another great example that I'm only mentioning because, Halloween's coming. It's almost mid-September. It's almost spooky time. I'm really excited. But, yep. I remember I read, it was Salem's Lot for the very first time, and it was like, well, that's weird. It seems like it was, people tell me that it's this great big story, and, it's one of Stephen King's best, but, it plays a lot like Fright Night. It didn't feel like it's doing a whole lot unique here. And I saw a Reddit thread on that, and a lot of people were talking like, you got to understand, when this book came out, the idea of having vampires in a modern day setting really wasn't a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when Stephen King wrote this, it was very revolutionary for the time, and all these properties took after Salem's Lot, and it's like, oh. So it's just kind of interesting to look back and be like, oh, this is where these ideas came from, sorta. Man,
yep.
We're talking about Elder Scrolls. How did that happen?
I don't know, but it's like the idea. It's like people always talk about it. It's just like, oh, watching this back then, it was like revolutionary at the time, and it was like, or whatever, like playing this or whatever. It's like that was when it was at its best or whatever. Or that was when, it's like it's why I always say it was just like, the older you are and the longer you've gamed, it's like you understand where trends have kind of come and gone. To whereas if you're a young kid that's getting into gaming now, and you sit there going just like, why are so many people excited for Elder Scrolls 6? And it's just like, because we got 5 over a decade ago now, and it was super good and was the base starting point for a lot of games that were trying to be this big open world type S game. Like, so many games tried to copy that, and just some succeeded, some failed. That's how it always goes.
So what Bethesda needs to do is they need to give Elder Scrolls 6 the Doom 2016 treatment, because for honestly, a while, because back when Doom first came out, everyone was like, yeah, Doom is a shit. And then the Xbox 360 came out being like, okay, we have new shooters now. Then they released Doom 3, and everyone was like, hell yeah, Doom is the shit. And then now we have... Then Doom 2016 came out being like, well, the last Doom game was... Doom 3 wasn't too good. And then Doom 2016 came out, and now everyone's like, hell yeah, Doom is the shit.
The thing is, especially when it comes to... I feel like being a sequel for a lot of games, especially like for games that are, iconic as Skyrim is, or anything like that, or Doom, for example, is that you have to keep with the essence of the game, like what it purely is. Because looking at Doom, for example, it is just a like run around, shoot a bunch of demons, and it's just a giant gore fest, and that's what people loved about it. So what did the 2016 version do? It did that.
Yeah.
It's just what Bethesda needs to do is to just capture what people loved about 5 and just put it in 6. That's all they need to do. And I say that's all they need to do, but that's extremely hard to do.
Yeah.
There's a reason why people loved it. It's like you need to remind yourself what that is, and then just do that. Just do that. It's as simple as that.
I mean, that's really all a lot of these developers really have to do at the end of the day. It's like, so what are we going to do for Doom 2016? Let's just make an updated version of Doom. It's like, we don't want to try anything different. It's like, no, it's Doom, and Doom is good, and people like Doom, so just make Doom.
Especially when it comes to a reboot series or whatever, it's like, what you need to do is you need to get a good starting off point type thing. It's like, for Doom 2016, it was the good starting off point, and then from there, just keep the essence of the game while still iterating onto it. And I think they've done pretty well on that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, after that they had Doom Eternal, which was fucking Doom Eternal. And now we have Doom the Dark Ages, which is going to make so much goddamn money. Holy shit.
It probably will, yeah. So. So, Sony, what we're trying to say here is just take the PS2 and just remake it.
And just do that again.
And just do that again. It's as simple as that. Everyone loved the PS2, so just do that again.
Just
oh no, there's no online. You have to buy this stupid little adapter thing years later that you plug into the front of it. It's big, it's bulky, no one likes it or whatever. It rarely works, type thing. But when it does, it was real good. You can play Final Fantasy 11 with it. You could play like Battlefront 2 online. I don't know what else. What other like online games where they're back for the PlayStation 2? Not many.
I don't fucking know.
Could you imagine if they did that? It's just like, oh, we're gonna like not doing like a classic like PlayStation 2. It's just like we're gonna make a PlayStation that's just like we're only gonna have just single player games on it, and we'll make stuff, and it's like downgraded or whatever like that. It has like the graphics of the PS2, but like works in modern TVs and stuff like that, and we're just gonna make games for that. Could you imagine that?
That'd be super fucking funny. They will never do that
Could
in a trillion years.
Could you imagine though?
No, I actually can't.
I could. I really could. And it's a fucked up version. I'll say that. Anyways, should we call it there?
Yeah, I think so.
I think we said what we want to say and ramped and vamped enough. Ramped and vamped. I'm getting loopy right now. That's how you know we're done. That's how you know we've reached the end.
Yeah, Sony, fuck you. The PlayStation Pro sucks. Game developers, make good video games. Game publishers, stop being assholes. Gaming future looks shaky. Thanks everybody for watching.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Be sure to listen. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see our faces and whatnot, or just watch on YouTube or whatever. You can do that. It's all appreciated and everything like that. Be sure to subscribe to all the other links that are down below the channel and whatever. We'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye!